right, back in the 90s, Ray Anderson was pretty much set for life. Running a carpet company that made nearly $1 billion a year, that company called Interface. See, Ray started it more than 30 years ago, and now it's the largest carpet manufacturer in the world. Here's the thing, it's also one of the greenest. You see, back in '94, Ray came across a book called The Ecology of Commerce. And that book outlines how a lot of businesses are destroying the environment. Ray says reading it was like getting a spear in the chest, and he vowed to make his company the world's first sustainable business with a carbon footprint of 0 by the year 2020. Basically, do business, make money, and protect the environment all at the same time. Now, that's a tough job for a carpet manufacturing company, but more than a decade later, Interface is halfway there, or as Ray likes to put it, halfway up Mount Sustainability. Oh, and by the way, the company is still making lots of money. So now Ray is spreading the word. He's been in a documentary called The Corporation. That one criticizes how big companies operate. He's been a part of Leonardo DiCaprio's environmental doc called The Titanic. No, I'm just kidding. It was called The 11th Hour.
And humans have not figured out how to change their ways, and we're the culprit.
These days, Ray travels around the world talking about corporate sustainability. He's also helped to put together a little something for the President of the United States called a 100-day action plan for the environment. Everybody, say hello to our friend Ray Anderson. Good to see you, man. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Joe. Great to be here.
How have you been?
I'm good.
So the 100-day, the economic, the action plan that you have that you would offer to the president, let's say you sat down with Barack Obama, and let's say he said, Ray, I don't have time for all 100 things. What are the top 3? What would you tell the new president?
Easy. Cap and trade, number 1. Set a goal, number 2, 90% reduction in greenhouse gases by 2050. And then stop subsidizing the mature industries. You know, let's shift subsidies to the new industries that really needed to move us forward to a new economy.
What kind of industries would you?
Are those? Clean technologies. Yeah. Yes, renewable energy in particular.
Cap and trade. You think that works?
I think it will. It worked on sulfur dioxide, and if we push the cap far enough upstream so that it affects everything downstream, we think that's the best way to make it work. You know,
obviously, aside from the fact, like you'd think a new president would have 2 wars to deal with, would be more than enough on his plate, but now he has to deal with this economy that is a global problem. Yeah. Does the economic reality that we face now, and I guess the unknown that's tomorrow, does that affect a country or a corporation's ability to move forward in a green way?
Well, it sets everything back. You know, anything that costs money is going to come under close scrutiny, as corporations have to retrench if their marketplace dries up. I mean, there's no 2 ways about that. But we're committed to pressing ahead just as far and as fast as we can go because it's proven to be so good for business. The business case for sustainability is crystal clear. Our costs are down, not up, dispelling that myth. Our products are the best they've ever been because sustainable design has opened up this wellspring of innovation. Our people are galvanized around the shared higher purpose, and the goodwill of the marketplace is just amazing.
Was there an initial huge investment on the part of your company to start the journey to being sustainable?
No. We started the journey by attacking waste, and we began to save money from the very first day. And as we got ahead of the cost curve, then we could afford to divert some of those savings into the process changes and the new technologies, the R&D, and even in time the capital investments necessary to change the nature of the whole company.
And this is Mission Zero?
Mission Zero. The top of the mountain, that point at the top, symbolizing zero footprint. Mission Zero.
Where are you on that climb?
Well, you know, there are a lot of factors, and depending on how you weigh the individual factors, we're at least halfway, and maybe a bit more. For example, our own net greenhouse gas emissions for a global corporation are down 82% in absolute tonnage, even as the business has grown by 2/3 since we drew that baseline. So that translates into roughly a 90% reduction in greenhouse gas intensity.
You know, when you were here the last time, there was an appetite for companies to learn about, you know, I guess ways to make their companies a little bit more sustainable. But in the time, and I would argue that it's since you and I were on the show together, the whole world cares about the environment now. Suddenly,
Really?
It may have nothing to do with us, but but you know, the conversation has intensified so much. Have you found more and more corporations and more CEOs are coming to you?
Well, yeah, and we've even had to create the consulting arm of the company to deal with people who are coming to us asking how you do this. So we're there to help them find their way up that mountain more quickly than they would, you know, on their own.
Have you gotten calls from companies and you looked at them and go, can't help you?
Oh no, you don't ever give up on redemption.
But you know, a lot of the businesses that are getting the most heat right now are in the so-called dirty businesses. You know, a lot of it has to do with mining, or you're talking about energy companies.
Believe me, we're all in transition. We're all in transition from the old system to a new system that is, we've hardly even visualized yet what it's going to be.
You know, in this country here, Canadians talk a lot of game about how important the environment is to them, and then when they faced the federal election, they elected the leader who had the least expansive environmental plan.
Yeah, I noticed that.
You know, right. So, and I think that's because, why do you think that is, Ray?
I tell you, the status quo is an opiate. It is so hard to break with. We've always done it this way, and really let go and look forward. That's human nature.
Do you think that well, I guess thus we realize most of the responsibility falls on the shoulders of the individual and the corporations, because as the corporations go in this world, we go. Exactly.
If you know, I used to say the corporations have to lead, and that's still true, but it's even more important if the corporations don't come aboard, it's over for humankind. I mean, it's absolutely imperative that the corporate world realize the impacts, the negative impacts it's having on the environment, and figure out how to move to a positive place.
You know, as Barack Obama delivered his acceptance speech, he mentioned the environment.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of the things that came up. Are you optimistic?
Well, he talks about a planet in peril.
Yeah.
That says a lot. And I'm optimistic in the long run, but I think in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of pain. I really do. Humankind has got to shed its hubris. We call ourselves homo sapien, wise man, self-named wise man.
We're like Michael Jackson and the king of all pop. We suddenly have named ourselves and it's just stuck.
Well, we just got to shed that hubris and get real.
Who are some of the companies you've talked to, the bigger companies, who have made real gains in this world?
Oh, the biggest, Walmart.
Yeah, they get a lot of heat publicly, don't they?
They get a lot of heat, and they have, you know, historically, out of what they do to communities and so forth. But they have over 60,000 companies that make stuff for Walmart. That's an enormous supply chain.
They're bigger than most countries.
92% of their footprint, their environmental impact, is in their supply chain. And when Lee Scott says, here's where we're going, and he points the way to the top of Mount Sustainability, 60,000 CEOs say, what did he just say? So, I mean, he sent a ripple through the industrial world, the likes of which we've never seen before.
We find that accountability is really important. Accountability is massive inside a corporation, and when there's a savings and loans issue or there is an issue with a credit crunch, CEOs they're under the microscope, and prosecutors love the perp walk. They love seeing the CEO in the handcuffs, and there's all that thing. Should companies that commit crimes against the environment, should that be prosecuted as a white-collar crime?
Well, you know, I used to say to myself, someday people like me will go to jail. And, well, you know, people say, well, what do you mean? Well, theft is a crime. If I steal my grandchildren's future, that ought to be a crime. I ought to go to jail.
Right. But even more so if you poison a river, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're no telling what damage you're doing downstream. Everybody lives downstream, by the way, of everybody else.
Do you think that CEO, not just CEOs, but people in major corporations should face the law in that manner?
I do, but of course the law's got to be rewritten. And so how are you going to get that law through a legislature that's controlled by the lobbyists?
No kidding. An act of green. Do you have an act of green for us?
I do.
Okay, what is it?
Well, two. I got two acts of green.
I like that. I need a million, so all you got.
The first one, I heard that my buddy David Suzuki had committed to picking up more trash.
Yes.
I want to organize the army that will drop less trash.
I like that kind of army.
Now, but secondly, what we really intend to do at Interface, we are going to create a community online called missionzero.org. There will be no commerce done on missionzero.org. It will be there and open for people to come and learn and to share their learnings. So we hope that we can grow this community indefinitely.
Those are great acts of Green. It's good to see you again, man.
You got it.
Really appreciate that. Ray Anderson, everybody. All right, up next, one of the hottest bands in the world right now, Kings of Leon.